How's it going, everybody? This is Jay Elling at Berkshire Bike and Board. You might recognize my voice from the voicemail recordings here at any of our 4 locations. When you call, you'll hear me direct you in which department to talk to, whether it's sales or service. You might also recognize me from Strava as the fastest Berkshire Bike and Board employee. That's right, I'm faster than both Jeffin and Stefan, Jaron, and I'm faster than both Stefan and Jaron combined, especially on the bike that I'm about to talk to you about. What is that bike? That bike is the beautiful, amazing, super fast Cervelo S5. I'm so excited about this bike. Let's go. This summer, I have had the pleasure of riding the most coveted road bike since I can remember. This thing was in the front of every Grand Tour in the past few years. You might recognize this bike by its unique V-shaped handlebar and its slammed rear end. This aerodynamic race bike doesn't only look fast, but I can attest that it is the fastest thing I've ever ridden. This bike has been ridden by other fast cyclists like me, to name a few: Wout van Aert, Jonas Vingegaard, Primoz Roglic, and my favorite, Sepp Kuss from America. This bike that I speak of, the Cervelo S5, is not a staple of our shop. We are not a high-end road racing shop, but yet it's here. And I was blown away when Jaron said that he was gonna get me an S5 to ride for the summer. I did not believe him one bit. Then that one day came and the bike was here in a box, and I canceled every plan that I had, ripped it out of the box. Better than Jason and Jaron can rip a bike out of a box.
Sure. A boxing box.
Put it together perfectly, and this thing has been riding like a dream all summer long. Here at Berkshire Bike and Board, we sell many more comfort, endurance, road bikes, the Specialized Roupe, the Cervelo Caledonia, gravel bikes. This bike is not designed to be comfortable. This bike is unapologetically fast. It has a super aggressive positioning. It is aerodynamic and not lightweight. It is not comfortable. It is not compliant. It is, have I already said, unapologetically stiff. This thing is freaking fast. Thankfully, it does have 28mm tires on it, so that does make this bike a little bit more comfortable, but it gives it all that traction it needs when you're ripping down super fast descent. And when you go really fast, you need hydraulic disc brakes to slow you down, and those 28mm tires make sure that you're gonna be ripping to the road and coming to a stop. All this carbon fiber that makes it so stiff is not light. This bike comes in stock. This is the most affordable model at $9,000 with SRAM force, and this bike weighs 19 pounds. So when I say I'm a road bike that weighs 19 pounds, everyone thinks that it does not climb very well, which it's not a climbing bike at all. When you do stand up on the pedals though, this thing just wants to move forward. It doesn't matter if the road is going like this, doesn't matter if the road is going like this. It likes it if the road is flat, but if you're going up a hill and you stand up and pedal, this thing takes all that power, puts it right into the rear wheel and just pushes you forward. Promptly after I built up this Cervelo S5 super bike, I rode it for about a week and a half, and then I went and took my old 2017 Giant TCR fully carbon race bike for a spin around the block, and it felt like a wet noodle. I was blown away with how different these two bikes rode. Yeah, it's 6 years difference. The technology in the bicycle world has been moving uber quick. My Giant TCR felt like just a stringy noodle between my legs, and I could feel it flexing every time I put my weight on the pedals. This bike, whew, I can't say enough about this bike. And everyone that I've gotten to ride this bike from the shop, Stefan, Needly Stefan, Dave Clark, the Beast, they both ride so many bikes. They've owned these bike shops for so many years, and they've ridden a ton of bikes. They're pretty jaded when it comes to having opinions about bikes. They both rode this bike, and they were both shocked, and they both had commentary on how amazing this bike rode. That being said, I think that this is the fastest road bike ever, and I dare you to go and find yourself one that you can take for a test ride. If you fit on a size 56 frame, then you should come find me as soon as possible and get your legs over this thing and take this thing for a rip, because it is so freaking fun. All right, so I'm gonna just talk about a few things that I think Cervelo did a bang-on job with, starting from the front of the bike, working to the back. One of the most striking things about this bike is probably the handlebar stem combo. Out the box, it came out to fit me really freaking well. The handlebar width was spot on. The stem length was great. I raised it up a little bit here. I put a few spacers under here to jack up the front end. But if you did need to make any fit adjustments, you would need to make a costly purchase of this proprietary stem handlebar if you want a wider handlebar. Find the bike that fits you the closest. Start there, ride it, and figure out where you need to adjust. There's one downside is getting the fit dialed in might be a little pricey, but I think it's way worth it. Aerodynamic front end, I really think this front end design is really cool, how they keep the aerodynamic leading edge of the frame. External from the rear triangle, that's really cool. Small things that they did really well were the Garmin mount or Wahoo mount. There's a lot of options here that bolt onto the handlebars. You put a GoPro on there if you wanted, or lights, and it clamps on there. Really streamlined. Something I added on to was these sprint shifters on the drops here, so I can be shifting from the drops. Nice little touch. I got this garage door opener in the bar end here at a bike show in the beginning of the season, and I ended up putting it on here. This little hack made this bike even more like a Batmobile. I thought that was really cool because I could roll up to my house, hit the button, my garage door would open, I'd hit it again as soon as I got in the garage, and it would close and no one could find me. Running away from the cops on this bike, the best. Okay, down to the front end. Still, I can't believe how beautiful the front end of this bike is. It's just freaking amazing. The wheel set on this bike is the stock reserve wheel set. So reserve rims laced to zip hubs. And this front rim is super wide. So again, they're going with a wide leading edge. That really helps out on the aerodynamics. Does it work? I say yes. I'm not a scientist. Does it look cool? It looks freaking amazing. When the Tarmacs first came out with a rim design like this, they had a 25 or 26 millimeter tire on there. That looked really weird because the tire was narrow and the rim was wider. So you could tell how wide the rim was. But on this, with the 28 millimeter tires, the rim is a little wider than the tire, but it's not that bad, but it still looks really cool. So no complaints from the forced drivetrain and braking. Only a summer riding, so everything has been working spot on for me. I did get it dialed in really well. I'm gonna move back to the saddle here and top of the seat post. The Celitalia saddle that came on at stock, it was great. Again, they did another nice job with Garmin / GoPro mount on the back of the saddle. This little dangly comes down, you clip your Garmin Varia right on the back there, or your GoPro if you wanted to record your Tour de France efforts. Great job from Cervelo on that. Down to the rear end here, look at that. Just freaking look at it. Look at how they slam that rear wheel in there. You got it right under your butt. The seat post is much more vertical than the other bikes I've ridden. I think that really helps put you in a forward power position. Just like the rear wheel's tucked, the front wheel right here is tucked. It just makes it look so freaking amazing. Vittoria tires, 28 millimeter tires. I know Jaron had some issues with them. They're tubeless, but no issues for me. I had one flat. I think there's a few things leading up to that flat, but great luck with the rear wheel, rear tires all around. The SRAM forced drivetrain, like I said, no problems. Once in a while, I would have my bike in the back of the car for a drive, and I had forgotten to take the batteries off. And yeah, the batteries die. A few group rides where I had to swap some batteries from the front to the back to prevent the rear end from not shifting, but at least I was able to do that. Much better than the Shimano Di2 system that just, the whole thing dies if one battery dies. Here, you got two batteries you can move around. $9,000 for a full carbon electronic shifting forced by carbon wheels. And this bike also has a power meter and ceramic bottom bracket. Now, I love putting this bike up in the stand, spin the rear wheel as fast as I can, and then watching that crankset just continue to spin. And I feel that when you're riding. I mean, I feel like when you go to spin the pedals, it's effortless. You're not feeling any resistance down there. So really good job from Cervelo on this bike. I love it, obviously. All right, so now herein lies the issue. So Jaron got me this bike at the beginning of the season. We just started selling Cervelo again. He got a few bikes. He got himself an R5. He got me this S5. We've been riding these bikes all summer long. Jaron has had his great road bike revival. He's all about it now. Soon how the tables will turn, he'll just go right back to his gravel ways and forget about his road bike. But anyways, the season's coming to an end. Seems like I'm gonna have to be giving this bike up, and I won't be able to keep this bike in my quiver. And it is sad to say because I have become so hooked on this bike. This bike is so freaking fun. It is not comfortable. It is not light. It is such a joy to ride, and I look forward to every time I get to put my legs over to this bike to ride it. So now I ask you, I'm gonna open a GoFundMe and a, what are the other ones?
Patreon.
That was just terrific. So right now I'm at $10 towards the Get J and S5 fund and only $8,989 left to go until I have my own, very own, I'm just kidding. I am going to dread jumping back on my giant bike after riding this thing. I never thought that I would be hooked on an aerodynamic race bike. I really never wanted an aerodynamic race bike, but this bike just looks so freaking cool in the front of the Tour de France, winning the Tour, watching that big screen TV with Jaron every freaking July, looking at that thing fly down the road. I wondered what it was like, and now I know. This thing is not just a cool looking bike to be put under superheroes. It is a bike that you can put on under anybody, I think, and they will become superheroes. They'll become so freaking fast. Enough of me spewing about the bike. Like Jaron says, I don't know what Jaron says, but unapologetically stiff is the motto of this video. Go find yourself Cervelo S5 and ride one today.